The first segment of the Hot 7 Nightly News is brought to you by Flow.
Tonight, an assessment of the St. Lucia Blind Welfare Association's office building is in progress to determine which valuables may have been stolen following a break-in on Wednesday night. The Minister for Social Transformation is taking a deep dive into the cause for floods in his constituency following the losses sustained during the November 6th rainstorm. And the unemployment rate among St. Lucians is expected to improve as the EU agrees to provide monetary support to address the social problem through the private sector.
This is the Hot 7 Nightly News with Daniela Edwin.
Good evening. It is Thursday, November 17th, 2022. I am Daniela Edwin. Welcome to the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. We are on Flow Channel 117, Kiss FM, the Caribbean Hot FM mobile app, and the Caribbean Hot 7 TV Facebook page. Not forgetting those of you using the Hot 7 plug and play antenna, thank you for joining us. We begin tonight's broadcast with news that bandits vandalized and desecrated the Blind Welfare Association building on Wednesday evening in search of valuable items. At this point in time, the association was unable to disclose what exactly was taken from the premises. However, Executive Director Anthony Avril asserted that the attack reeks of desperation. He outlined that the plans of the bandits were thwarted by the alarm of a neighbor in the area.
Staff at the Blind Welfare Association was greeted with scenes of horror on Thursday morning, shattered glass and office spaces in disarray. They quickly realized that the building was the subject of a late-night break-in and robbery. Bandits seized the opportunity of the night and attacked an institution dedicated to preserving eye care in St. Lucia. While it remains unknown what exactly the perpetrators made away with, the staff are psychologically damaged by the incident. Puzzled by the ordeal, Executive Director Anthony Avril was quite surprised bandits would even consider the Blind Welfare Association as a target for a robbery.
I was among the last sets of people that left here last night, at 9 o'clock, and came back in around 10 to 7 this morning, greeted by a break into the place. They smashed the glass in one of the front doors, interfered with the door to the eye clinic, but that they actually smashed their way through the other door and came in and of course breached the building. Naturally they would be looking and trying to see what they can find. We don't know exactly what they expect to find in this place, but it was a bit of a mystery because the staff, they have been searching and checking to see what they may have make away with.
Avril is thankful that neighbors in the area took action and attempted to scare the bandits off. He says their heroics may have prevented further loss for the association.
Apparently, some neighbors heard the commotion and raised an alarm, and that may have stopped them in their tracks somewhat. And two men were seen running with whatever they had in their hands. And that this bit of information, I understand, was shared with the police. The police they were here very early, several of them, doing their work to start their investigation. But this really threw us in a bit of a tailspin.
Avril articulates that it is unfortunate that the already cash-strapped association will need to procure resources to improve security at the facility to preclude another incident. Prior to the break-in on Wednesday evening, the thieves had attempted to enter the building on the previous night, but that attempt proved less successful than the former. Reporting for the Hot 7 TV News, I am Kareem Nelson.
On the heels of the consistent torrential rainfall battering Castries, Parliamentary Representative for Castries South East Joachim Henry is calling for a deeper investigation into the root causes of flooding and how the situation can be properly mitigated. Recognizing the flood-prone nature of the communities he represents, Henry says that the process of desilting rivers must be more calculated and scientific to ensure that money is not wasted and the flood issue can properly be addressed.
The rainstorm which devastated the island on Sunday 6 November, compounded by the frequency of floods in the Castries Southeast constituency, has triggered the parliamentary representative Joachim Henry to appeal for a more scientific study of flash floods and flood mitigation on island. Henry laments that communities within his constituency are synonymous with flooding due to the frequency of the natural disaster occurring. Recognizing this peril and the damages the severe water event could pose, the Castries Southeast MP calls for more tactical probes of the island's waterways.
I am concerned and I'm expecting that moving forward we will investigate deeper in terms of the mitigating measures. We all speak of the silting, but when you have that level of rainfall, a 200 feet of river at 8 feet wide can only handle approximately 40,000 gallons of water. But when you see millions of gallons of water spreading over Castries surface, we know that our waterways are inundated, and even with the silting of 3 feet deep is not adequate.
While the silting is the primary mitigation measure against flooding, it comes at a hefty price tag. Therefore, Henry is calling for more efficient measures of removing silt to be employed to avoid financial wastages.
We've discussed with the Ministry of Infrastructure, and we're expecting that we will move forward in having monitors in the rivers to measure not just rainfall, but the height of silt, so that we can desilt or remove silt in a very accurate and scientific way in places where it ought to be removed, but not just randomly investing millions of dollars in desilting and we do not get value for money or do not find the true impact of what we're doing.
Henry asserts that his aim is to investigate deeper and to examine further sustainable means in dealing with this perennial flooding problem in Bexar and environs. Reporting for the Hot 7 TV News, I am Kareem Nelson.
The European Union has agreed to provide monetary support to the generation of employment through Private Sector Development Project, JEPSED. On November 16th, the Prime Minister, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, and Ambassador of the EU to Barbados and Eastern Caribbean states officially signed a EC $16.8 million grant to support the JEPSED project. At least 600 St. Lucians will benefit from the implementation of the JEPSED project. 7 local institutions who provide occupational training programs have agreed to place each of the 600 JEPSED participants in a private sector-based job training program for a minimum of 3 months, paving the way for their transition to productive careers.
On November 16th, Prime Minister Honorable Philip J. Pierre and Ambassador of the European Union to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean states, Malgorzata Wasilewska, finalized the terms of an EC $16.8 million grant from the European Union to support the generation of employment through Private Sector Development Project, or JEPSED. The JEPSED project is a comprehensive and integrated skills training system that provides unemployed youth and vulnerable groups with access to occupational training programs facilitated by the St. Lucia Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training.
We are going to be training young St. Lucians to give them the skills, the necessary skills, so that they can produce. Because the problem of unemployment is a scourge that affects all of us. It doesn't matter if we leave one point in St. Lucia and go and live somewhere else. That scourge is going to follow us. The scourge of social upheaval and the problems of crime will follow us if we do not find a way, to engage our young people, find a way to get them meaningfully employed.
The EU grant will be used to provide stipends for participants, and also make available seed capital to trainees who have attained National Caribbean Vocational Qualifications under the JEPSET project and wish to pursue a micro and or small to medium scale business venture. The EU funding will also be used to establish a workforce development center in the island's south.
We are very excited to join forces with the government of St. Lucia in support of the reform of the TVET landscape in the country. Given the vulnerabilities and current fragility St. Lucia is actually continually exposed to, the improved alignment of education and training and exposure to experience in the labor market.
7 local institutions who provide occupational training programs, namely the Sir Arthur Lewis Community College, Monroe College, the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association Training Academy, the National Skills Development Center, the Center for Adolescent Renewal and Education, and the School of Art and Design have agreed to train at least 600 St. Lucians enlisted in the JEPSET project. To this end, the Department of Economic Development and representatives of the respective occupational training institutions have signed a memorandum of understanding to place each of the 600 JEPSET participants in a private sector-based job training program for a minimum of 3 months. The EU grant of $16.8 million will also support related initiatives in the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Commerce, and the St. Lucia Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training. The Office of the National Authorizing Officer is the implementation agency spearheading the JEPSET project. From the Office of the Prime Minister, Rihani Isidore.
Still in the first segment of the news, the POV. The POV provides you, our valued viewers and listeners, an opportunity to weigh in on trending issues in the news and current affairs only from your point of view.
What can be done to give International Men's Day more prominence?
I believe the onus is on us as men to make an effort to make it more exciting, because as you see the world going, women taking over. It's time for men to start doing their role and playing their part.
I would say it's the women. We just need to be appreciated by the women, because that's what it is, because Women's Day is always appreciated because of us, not because of them themselves. So for that to happen, for that to be a thing, we have to be appreciated by the women.
I wish all men will come together and do what is right for our children that are coming up.
All men should come together, just like you get Mother's Day, but then Father's Day is not really. So I think men should come together and put together, and then when Men's Day comes, that something happens, it comes out and stuff like that.
Men themselves have to, some of us have to check ourselves, We have to give the distance and check ourselves, because we cannot just be there and when they have International Men's Day, you see nothing going on,
You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, the Bordelais Correctional Facility is actively participating in International Men's Day activities with the hosting of a men's health seminar. And White Truffles Intimate Experiences is offering the royal treatment to St. Lucian men on the occasion of International Men's Day. Don't go away, we'll have the details of these stories and more right after the break.
The first segment of the Hot 7 Nightly News was brought to you by Flow.